Hi, my name is Jared, and today we're going to make a custom cable for the Aputure 120D Mark II. Specifically, we're going to make a longer version of the cable that connects the light head to the ballast. So the factory cable is probably 6 feet long, and for my purposes, booming the light using like a Avenger mini boom or something like that, this cable's simply not long enough. And so I searched Google, Amazon, eBay, could not find something like 15, 20 feet. I saw cables for the 300D Mark II, I think maybe 20 feet long, but sold out everywhere. Nothing for the 120D though. And so I decided, you know what? A cable is a bunch of copper and rubber and a connector, so let's just make one ourselves, okay? So right off the bat, I could tell that these are 5-pin DMX connectors. I'm an audio lighting, guy for like concerts and stuff on the side, and I see these kinds of connectors all the time. So it's an XLR style connector with 5 pins in it, and these are most commonly used for DMX. In fact, DMX is actually a control protocol for lights, and on the 120D Mark II ballast on the bottom, there's actually DMX inputs and outputs, and I verified that, the power cable locks right in to the DMX output. So I know that these are DMX cables. However, I should say I know that these are DMX connectors. Don't know what's going on inside of this rubber jacket. Are there actually 5 independent copper leads traveling between the pins, or is there 2 or 3 and they are just soldered together underneath the connector? Didn't know. So I tried to pull the connector apart to see what was going on in there, but there's like a white epoxy which is a good thing. It prevents movement. It prevents like tugging against the solder joints. However, it's hard to see with your naked eye what's going on in there, okay? So I'll tell you what I did. The first thing was I took a multimeter, and if you've not used a multimeter, it's got 101 functions. I don't know half of them, but the one that I do know is how to do a continuity test. And so you basically set the multimeter to the ohm reading, which measures resistance. And the resistance it measures is the resistance that electricity is experiencing passing between one of these leads and the other lead. And so when there's an air gap between the leads, there's, for all intents and purposes, infinite amount of resistance because they're not touching. However, once you touch these leads together, the resistance drops very low, and what you're now measuring is the resistance of the internal components that you're connecting together. However, the meter jumps by quite a bit. The numbers on the meter, do a giant cartwheel in front of you, and you know that there is an electrical connection when these two things touch. And so what this is good for is measuring, hey, are the pins on this end connected to the pins on this end? And so that's what I did. I basically took each connector and I touched pin 1 to pin 1, pin 2 to pin 2, pin 3 to pin 3, pin 4 to pin 4, and I verified that within these connectors, pin 1 is connected to pin 1 and only pin 1, pin 2 is connected to pin 2 and only pin 2, and so on. So this is a 5-core cable, and no pins are soldered with jumpers or anything inside. Each pin is directly connected to the corresponding partner pin on the other end, and only that. Okay, so that told me we need a 5-core cable in order to make another one of these. All right, so I went to Amazon, and maybe I'll put a link in the description, maybe I won't, I don't know. But I looked up, at like a 24 wire gauge 5-core cable. And I think this was like $20 maybe, and it's 25 feet of it. And so when you look inside, I see 5 different cables. Each one has its own color, and it's jacketed in like a black rubber. And I also ordered 2 of these male 5-pin DMX connectors, and they're just like the ones that come with the Aputure light. There are 5 pins, and they're made by Neutrik, which is a good brand, well respected in the audio and lighting community. Okay, so we've got 2, they're both male, and this is another thing I found kind of interesting. The 120D Mark II has a male-to-male connection, the 300D has a male-to-female connection, and the 600D has like some Gucci cable with like aircraft connectors on the end of it, okay? So none of the cables are interchangeable between the Aputure lights. All right, but for our work today on the 120D Mark II, 5-pin DMX male to male, okay? And so the next thing I wanted to figure out was, because the gauge, I got a little stuttering problem here. The gauge of this cable is a known factor, 24 AWG. The gauge of this cable is unknown. There's no way to get in there and take a look at the copper short of cutting it, which I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna keep using this cable for things too. So I went and looked at cable ratings, and this cable is rated for 300 volts, okay? I was just kind of curious still about how is this cable being utilized by the light. So we'll do one more little nerdy thing before we get into soldering. I told you that when I ran the multimeter into each of these pins, I was able to verify that the pins were connected to their partner pin and nothing else. However, that does not hold true once it's connected to the ballast. Once I connected it to the ballast, you'll have to imagine that when this cable runs into the ballast, it's connected to probably some kind of PCB board in here, and some of these cables may be joined or jumpered together within the ballast and within the light head. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of test that out. So now that we have one end connected here, we're gonna go ahead and run the continuity test one more time, and I think I found the results to be pretty interesting. So I'm gonna go pin 1 and 2. All right, pin 1 and 2 are jumpered together. All right, let's go pin 1 and 3. Pin 1 and 3 are also jumpered together. Let's go pin 1 and 4. Pin 1 and 4 are jumpered together. Let's go pin 1 and 5. Pin 1 and 5 are not jumpered together. And so basically I just held the red lead on pin 1, touched pin 2, and I saw the meter jump. Touched pin 3, the meter jumped. Touched pin 4, the meter jumped. Touched pin 5, nothing happened. Okay, so we can infer that pins 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the hot pins, and the neutral or the cold pin would be pin 5. And that would just make sense. You would have your current traveling over 4 of the pins, and one of them is the non-current or the non-hot return channel. And so I suspect that basically the ballast is taking AC current and turning it into DC current, and DC typically runs on just, a black and a white, a hot and a cold. And so in this case, the black is pins 1 through 4, the cold is pin 5. Okay, and so that puts me a little bit at ease because, I mentioned that this cable, the wire gauge, I was like, man, is this wire gauge thick enough? I don't know. Well, it's the sum of 4 of the 5 wire gauges is the hot. Okay, so I feel fine about it, and we're just gonna go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna open these bags here and kind of show you what we're dealing with. We've got a sleeve, a boot, a strain relief, and then we have our 5 pins with little solder cups on them right there. So one thing to note when you're assembling audio cables or DMX cables, especially ones that have boots and strain reliefs, is to kind of know the order of operations when you put it together. Because if I were to solder this end on right now, there's no way to get these guys attached to the cable. So the proper way is to actually put the boot on first, okay? So once that's on, then you're gonna put the strain relief on, okay? And now you do your soldering on this end, and once this end is soldered, you basically snug these up to the end of the cable, and then you screw this down, and you'll have a completed cable. Okay, so it sucks to do 5 soldering connections and realize you forgot to put the strain relief and the boot on. So in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do that first for both ends. All right, so I counted off about 15 feet of this cable, and that's gonna be long enough for our purposes. So cut it. We're gonna put the boots and the strain relief on both ends. Okay, so there's number 1. Okay, now that those are on, I feel a lot better about starting the rest of this process. And so first thing we're gonna do is we'll use a razor blade, and we're just gonna cut back some of this jacket. So I'm just kind of rolling it along the blade. Don't need to get too crazy here. We don't want to pierce the inner jackets, okay? There we go. We're just gonna take a little bit off the edge of each of these using a razor blade. It's a little bit tedious. I'm gonna pause the camera and I will probably pick up where I left off tomorrow. This is gonna take me a little while. But basically we're just gonna expose all of these copper leads right here so that they're ready for soldering. So I guess tune back in tomorrow. I think it's time to eat dinner. All right, we're back for day number 2 here. So what I didn't show is I basically finished stripping all these wires. It took me about 5 minutes or so. I used a razor blade and just kind of gently nicked each one of these smaller internal wires, and then just used my thumbnail to pull them away and expose them. So if you remember, I recommended that before we even get started, we actually put these critical boots and like strain relief guys on the cable, because once you solder, it's too late, and that's a very it's a very easy mistake to make. So those are both on here, and we're ready to get started. So I I don't own a helping hand set. If you know what a helping hand is, it's basically like a soldering set. So I just used a grip clamp here and clamped some of that foldy, bendy wire, rubbery wire stuff around a couple of battery terminal clamps, I guess they're called. And inside, I basically clipped both of these. I'll hold them for this. I'm pretty bad at like which camera to look at here, but clamped some of these little 5-pin DMX terminals, and I put them in the same orientation. That way, it's a little bit easier to wire them correctly. And so I got them both facing me, and I just kind of picked a wiring scheme of basically just want them to be the same. It doesn't matter which colors go as long as they're in the right order. So I'm just going to do white, red, yellow, green, black, and I did that on both. Okay, I have some flux here, and I know I'm probably going to get a comment or two about how I don't know how to solder correctly, and that's true. I read a little bit of Google stuff, and I've soldered little joints here and there, but I'm by no means a pro. I'm just dipping. I basically just dipped all of the leads into the flux. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tin all of these wires. And tinning is basically where you just make sure that each of the exposed pieces of copper have a little bit of, they're infused with the soldering material. And so I'm going to take the iron here, and this has been heating up, so it should be good to go. I'm going to heat up the copper wire, and then I'm going to push the soldering material into the hot wire. Just like that, and that wire is now tinned. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the screen, but heat up the wire. That's taking a little bit longer. Okay, that one's tinned. That one's tinned. Tinned. So basically, I hold the soldering iron to the back side of the copper wire, and then I feed the soldering material into the opposing side, and it sucks it through. Similar to if you've ever done plumbing, and you heat up the copper joint, and then you add the soldering material to like suck it in and seal the joint. It kind of does the same thing. I don't know. It probably has something to do with the heat. I'm sure one of you scientists out there can tell me. All right, so we're gonna do this other one here. I'm just going to kind of make sure that all of these little ends are twisted and nice and tight. And once again, going to dip them in flux through the other end. Okay. It's going pretty fast now. Try not to inhale this. It can't be good for you. It's weird that smoke seems to try to find your face. I don't know what that's all about. You ever go to like a campfire and every time you shift sides, the smoke seems to follow you? Can't be a coincidence. All right. Let's go ahead and set this down. Dropped a little solder onto my wooden TV tray, and it didn't seem to burn the house down. But glad it wasn't my knee. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I kind of jumbled these up. I'm just gonna make sure once again that they're in the same order. So white, red, yellow, black, green. White, red, yellow, black, green. Okay, they're in the same order. All right. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to. There are little cups inside the back side of each of these pins, and so I'm gonna fill each of those cups with a little bit of solder. That solder will solidify. And then when I'm ready, I'll reapply the soldering iron, the solder will liquefy, and at that point I'll insert the cable end that has been freshly tinned with solder. So a couple steps there, but should be pretty easy going. So I'm gonna orient these the same towards me. That way I don't dork it up. Okay, so they're oriented in the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going counterclockwise. And take our, I know this is not called soldering material. I know it has a name and it's escaping me because I'm on camera and I can't think right now. All right, so maybe it's just called solder. All right, so I'm gonna heat up this cup, and then I'm gonna apply this till it kind of fills in. Okay, there's one. There's 2. You want to be kind of careful because the heat transfers through the metal really easily, and these little pins are basically encased in plastic. So you want to kind of do it towards the edge to where the solder will melt and get in there pretty fast before you don't want to like melt or damage the plastic in any way. This is awkward. I got to use my left hand now. This is where you'll get to see me burn myself. I cut my own hair, and using hair clippers, having to use your weak hand always, makes a little bit of stress. If I'm gonna have a bad haircut, guaranteed it's gonna be on the side that my left hand has to work on. Okay, so there are now solder in each of those cups. So now I'm about to do the same thing to this other side. I don't know about heating the back side of these like I originally said. It seems to be taking a little bit longer. Maybe if I can just feed it in like I was doing. Yeah, that seems to work. We don't need a ton because there's the wires are tinned as well. So this is just to get a little bit extra in there just for the holding power. Last one. All right. So some of you might be nervous or apprehensive about building your own cable for warranty concerns and things like that. I'll tell you that I didn't realize that Aputure doesn't honor warranties for lights bought on eBay or Amazon until after I bought my 120D. So I've since bought, I have a 300D and a 600D that I bought through a local, I don't know, camera store that warranties are honored that way. But when I bought my 120D, bought it through eBay, like one of those package deals that gives you a light stand and a softbox. And Aputure warranties are stuff for a year, and that year's over anyways, but not too concerned about warranties. I'm just kind of gonna go for it. So, all right. So we've got solder, we've tinned all of our edges, we filled all the solder cups with solder. So the last step is to just reheat up the solder in the solder cups, push the cable in the correct order, and should be about it. So one last time, because I have bad experiences, the cable boots and the strain release are already on the cable ends. Okay, so now enough talking, let's do this. All right, so I'm going for number 1. Here's the white solder cup. Okay. He has solidified. Looks like a good connection. This will be a little bit interesting here because I tried to leave myself a little bit of slack, but I might actually need some tweezers to make these, unless I really want to get my fingers really close to the business end of this soldering iron. Let's try one. Getting kind of tight in here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it might be. Okay. So the one thing to be cautious of is just making sure that there's no solder connecting any of these pins together because, again, 4 of them are bonded. One of them is not the hot leg. 4 of them are bonded to hot. One of them is the return. I don't recall off the top of my head which of these is not bonded, so I'm just going to treat them all very independently and make sure that there's no solder connecting any of the terminals together. Which is just a clean way to do it anyways. The Aputure cables don't have any of the internals touching, so why should I do that? What did I say? White, red, yellow, black, green. All right, so we're doing yellow now. I'm just gonna kind of turn this guy upward. You know what? I'm gonna go get, well, let's see. Will this work? This is my little cable. I think this will work. Little industrial, but I think it'll work. This is why that extra hands, helping hands thing is helpful. Okay. Yellow is in. And what we'll do before we put this into the light is we'll run the ohm meter and we'll do a continuity test across all the pins, just like I did with the factory cable, to make sure that there is no little jumpers going on between any of these pins or cables before we connect it to the light. All right, one more time. So white, red, yellow, black, green. So we're on black now. Okay. Gotta get a good grip on it so that there's enough slack to push it in once the solder melts. Okay. Black is in there. One of the things about soldering these power cables is interesting is the jacketing around the inner cables is so thin that when you apply the heat to the gun, the jacketing shrinks back and exposes more copper than you originally exposed. So if you're going to do this yourself, I'd recommend only pulling off like a 1/16 of an inch because after the heat applies, it'll probably shrink back to 1/8 of an inch. And that's another reason why I'm going to fill this with hot glue, is to insulate all of these from each other. Now they're pretty stiff, I don't think they're going to touch, but once you fill it with hot glue, they can't physically get to each other. All right, so last one, we're doing green now. Okay, might turn this one sideways just a little bit. I don't know if any of you are in my age bracket, but if you listen to Linkin Park, now that I listen to the lyrics after Chester unfortunately killed himself, I like man, these are pretty deep lyrics. I wonder if people look back and be like, dude, he was serious when he was saying all this stuff. If you have thoughts of hurting yourself or anything, I'd definitely talk to somebody. I know the constant theme on folks who go out that way is, you know, there's a lot of people that loved him that they maybe just needed to hear from. All right. That took a deep twist. I don't know if I like the green one. I think I missed on the green one. So I'm just gonna reorient this here. So I basically soldered the green lead to the outside of the cup using just some overflow solder, and I don't want that. I want it to be good. Okay, we've successfully removed the green wire. So let's see if we can now get it in there. green one's being a booger, guys. All right, I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna get some tweezers. I'm gonna do this, and then when I see you again, I'll have soldered both ends because nobody needs to watch this twice. Be right back. I lied. I'm gonna bring you back while I solder the rest. But I did get the green one. I used a pair of my wife's tweezers, so I'm sure she'll probably wonder about that later. What did I say? So I said white, red, yellow, black, green. Okay, so this guy's done. I just reapplied a little bit of flux to this because I've been bumping it around with my hands and everything like that. I also took the multimeter and I just tested all of these leads to make sure that there were no cross connections on these pins due to my weird soldering job. And I also tested the pins. And so this set is completely good. Nothing is touching and it's good solid connections. So we're gonna do the next one. And I brought you back because, I don't know, maybe it's a Thursday or a Friday night by the time you see this and you're wondering, who am I gonna talk to tonight? And it's me. We'll talk together. For you gearheads out there, I have a Rode NTG3B, the black version, boomed over top of me, and I'm using a Sennheiser G3 Lav that is the ME2, I think is the mic. And so that's the audio sources, and I'm filming on Canon C100 Mark IIs. This one right here is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8, and this one over here for the close-up shots is the Sigma 50-100 1.8. Beast of a lens. I did not know anybody made a 50-100 1.8 constant aperture. Insane. This lens, that lens right there is money. Money. I since got the Sigma 70-200 2.8, and I'm excited to use that. So I plan to do like three-way interview style shots. So 18-35 like straight on, and then a shot of each person's face with the 70-200 and the 50-100. Since they have overlapping focal lengths, so maybe pick like 100 or 80 millimeters, so that they can both have a very similar focal length. But I can get the advantages of that 70-200 for, I don't know, other kinds of shots for other things. So enough yakking. Here we go. So we're going here. Let me just one more time. Yep. White, red, yellow, black, green. Counterclockwise. So this way. I want to kind of get the cable set up so that it's not trying to twist and put strain on the joints. So get it like in a way where it kind of already sits the way you want it to. All right, so we're going for the first one here. I'm gonna switch hands again. It's very dangerous. Left hand soldering. Sorry for the long video. I might chop a bunch of this stuff out. Or I might just leave it long form and make you guys skip on your own. I feel like some people like the talking, and then some people just want to get straight down to business. So, oh jeez. Soldering irons make me nervous. So do hot glue guns. I burned myself so many times. White. I'm also wearing like shorts, so I'm scared about dripping a little solder drip on myself. All right, so I think at this point, I'm gonna take this guy out of the little helping hands situation, and I'm gonna put this cable in through here, but just kind of loosely, just to support it. And I think it's tweezers time. I think we're gonna just use tweezers throughout here. So red, next. We just started our subscription to Pandora. I'd used the free service with the ads for a really long time, but my wife really likes to make playlists for exercising, and so I think the subscribing version allows you to make playlists and pick your songs for that. And nothing's worse than trying to run for time and then having an ad pop up. All right, so that solder joint's done. I like soldering. It's kind of it's relaxing, I guess, because you have to be very focused and in the moment. So probably notice I'm rambling because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Can't make a intelligent video conversation monologue while trying to put solder in these joints. There we go. That's a good one. So the solder had solidified and the wire was just barely in the cup. And so I kind of got a better angle on it, heated the cup up from the bottom, and then it liquefied, and I was able to slide the cable in and then let go. And that looks really nice. All right. We are round in third here, so yellow, right? Sorry. White, red, yellow. White, red, yellow. It's better to ask yourself 1,000 times and do it now than do your continuity test later and realize you got to take it apart and move it around. All right. Whew. Nice. I think I'm gonna use tweezers all the time. I was trying to be a hero and do it with my fat fingers. Black, green. I'm interested to see how this lav mic sounds. I plan to use it for, I want to do like some little filmmaking. I got a little short film that I'm planning right now. And basically just using a boom and a lav and picking from the better of the two audio capture sources and just doing it, doing them both all the time. And just, I have a friend who's kind of stepping me through best practices for using a lav and like taping it to somebody or how to keep the shirt rustling sounds away, because I'm not hiding it right now. It's just clipped to my shirt, but if I'm doing like a little short film, I'm gonna try to hide it. If I'm doing corporate work, with like sit-down interview, ABC News style, I don't think there's a point in hiding it. I think you might as well just show it. Maybe it's even cool if you show it. People are like, whoa, that guy has a lav. He's legit. I kind of chuckle because on the camera forums, I'm sure the light forums are the same, people talk about like clients care about what your rig looks like. They don't necessarily, they care about the end product looks like, but I guess size matters. They want to see a big old rig and expensive looking stuff so that they feel like they paid good money for good service. And I think that's kind of cool that like I said, I'm a live audio guy, and so it's interesting when you like do audio for concerts and promoters and bands, and nobody knows that gear that you bring out. They just see cables and black boxes. Nobody understands whether it's a $400 box or a $3,000 box, except other people like you, techie people. I know. Every time I go to a concert, I'm like scoping out the rig. Like, what are they using? What kind of DI boxes are those? Can't even enjoy the music. You guys are probably the same way, watching interviews and television and movies. What kind of lighting rig is that? Ooh, baby. That one went great. All right. So, all soldering ends connected. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do another continuity test, this time pin to pin. Okay, so what we want to see is continuity across partnering pins, or twin pins, I'll call them. And we want to see no continuity across anything else. So black should only read connections with black, yellow to yellow. I am fidgeting here. I don't want to. That'll work. There we go. You guys see that? I don't want to like crunch the cable, but how's that? We got a view there? Not really. Let me tilt this up just a little bit. go. You can see the goods. All right, setting it to ohms, and we are gonna go counterclockwise. So first, white pins. Okay, we have connection between white, and now we will go to the other pins. Nothing, 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 nothing. Okay, white's connected to only white. We'll go to red. Okay, red's got good connection. Now we'll go red to white. Nothing. We already know that red and white because we already tested white. Okay, red connects to nothing but red. All right, now we're gonna go to yellow. All right, we know white's not connected. We know red's not connected. Yellow to yellow has good connection. Okay, yellow to black, nothing. Yellow to green, nothing. Okay, black. Black to green, nothing. Black to black, we have a good connection. And just for giggles, nothing on the others. Okay, finally we will do green. Green to green has good connection, and we know it's gonna have no connection to anything else because it's the last one we've tested. So boom, boom, boom. Soldering done. All right, so I'm gonna disconnect this dangerous devil machine, let it cool down. And what I'm going to connect is a lesser devil machine, this hot glue gun. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that stuff, but Gorilla Glue makes glue sticks. And I bet it's just a regular glue stick with their brand on it, but I choose to think that it is, I believe the marketing hype. I bet it's amazing. Hasn't failed me yet. I've hot glued a lot of things together. I don't know if you guys have used much hot glue in your time, but I find it very helpful. Let's see, what can we talk about for about 2 minutes while it heats up? So let's talk Aputure things. I've got the 120D, which I don't know if I already showed you. Here it is, got a blue gel on it. I actually just ordered some color temperature blue and color temperature orange gels from Amazon. I actually melted through these guys. I put them in the, I just taped them to the front of the reflector, and when I put it on 100% power, it melted and like made the whole gel wavy, a different one then. So I don't know if there's maybe like certain gels that are meant for high temperature and certain gels that are like, hey dummy, this is only meant for like flash strobes. I couldn't find it in the Amazon listing to say one way or the other. So I'm kind of holding the gels further and further away from the LED. But got a Aputure 120D, and above me here is a 300D Mark II with a light dome too. Oh, now I'm getting them mixed up. Is the one with the orb the light dome, or is that the one that looks like a softbox? Can't remember. Well, this looks like an orb with a little skirt around it, so you guys know which one that is. On a 300D, on a D650 Junior Boom, and then it's on a Mambo stand. This is another 300D, and it's through that softbox looking, man, now it's got me curious. Let me see what the names of these things are. Light Dome 2, and this is the Lantern. You guys are laughing. Lantern 300D, Light Dome 2, 300D with the grid and the thicker diffusion on it. And I actually put a CTO gel inside this one, so I should be warmer on this side, kind of cooler on this side. Cameras are set to 6100 Kelvin. What else? The boom here is I already said it's a Rode NTG3B. It's on a carbon fiber boom. It's in one of those little boom holders on a C-stand. My dogs are home, or my wife is home, my daughter's home, so my dogs are going nuts upstairs, so it probably got really loud up there. Let's see if we're good to go now. I'm running out of things to talk about. That means this video is almost to an end. Okay, I got a little bit of hot glue coming out of there, so we're going to just shoot this guy across the terminals, basically. Just kind of fill up this area. So that if the terminals knock loose or something, they can't touch each other. They'd be loose, but they'd be safe. There's a joke in there somewhere. that one's good enough. Let's get this guy. I'll take him out of here too. Okay. I think that's good. Hopefully I didn't cover up anything significant to assembling this thing. Don't think I did. If not, hot glue peels apart pretty easy. So, final step is to slide up. See, this is where you would have the oh no moment if you didn't put these guys on. You'd go to slide them up and you'd find them still in the bag or something like that, and you'd curse your life after doing all that soldering. Watch, I put them on backwards. Wouldn't that be funny? Okay, these are gonna have. Aputure makes great stuff. These slid right into like a little locking channel. This will push forward like that. And then we'll take one of these. See that I put them farther enough forward. It's my first time assembling one of these, so it might take me just a second. Oh, it's got interesting. It's like trying to twist the connector within while it threads. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's try again. Oh, it's got like a little locking. It's got like a little locking deal. That's the strain relief. The strain relief clicks almost like a ratchet strap would click on the inside. Okay, so we got one connector end done. Let's see if you can see how it looks like. Ooh, it looks nice. Admittedly, this cable's thinner than the Aputure cable. I wish it were, you know, the same all around. However, I think the performance is going to be just fine. So I'm gonna put a little extra hot glue in here, just to really stiffen things up. I will say though that the cable gauge, this 24 gauge with 5 cores inside, fits perfectly inside of this boot. I don't know if you can see that there, but there is like no air between the boot and this. You'd have to actually trim the boot back to make it fit a larger gauge cable. And I read the specs on these connectors, and I think we're right at the fringe of what the cups on these pins could even accommodate at 24 wire gauge. So I suspect that maybe this Aputure cable, even though the boot is thicker, it might be 24 gauge cable inside. It's just robust jacketing, but not necessarily thicker copper bits inside. All right, here we go. Wouldn't it be funny if I did all this and then did not try to turn the light on with you guys? We're gonna do it live though. You're gonna see my success or failure. Okay. So just because I am the way I am, I'm going to test these pins one more time before I plug it into my light that has no warranty. I don't want the non-hot connector bridging over to the hot connectors and doing something dastardly. All right, one more time. This will go faster because I got connectors on it. So 1 to 1 connection, 1 to 2 no connection, no connection, no connection, no connection, 2 to 2 connection, 2 to 1 none, 2 to 3 none, 2 to 4, 2 to 5 none. Okay, 3 to 3 connection, 3 to 4 no connection, 3 to 5 no connection. All right, 4 to 4 connection, 4 to 5 no connection, 5 to 5 connection. All right, y'all, it is time to see if what we did worked. Let's unplug the hot glue gun and get it out of here. I feel like things have a higher chance of success if you have a clean workspace, even just plugging something in. How's the still hot? All right, let's get him out of here. Okay, we're doing it live. We got our ballast, and Let's get it plugged in. Woo! You guys hear that? I just hit the boom mic like an amateur. Let me find the cable for the ballast to make sure I get power to it. One sec. Where'd you go? Here it is. Put it in its bag. Sounds like me. A real professional would have had this ready to go. Okay. Plugging the ballast in. Let's take this gel off so you guys can. By the way, if you guys haven't bought these, I don't know what to call them. I do know what to call them. I can't think because I'm doing a video. But anyways, they have a 30-degree grid in here that's removable. And they have like a magnetic gel holder, which is pretty cool. Although holding the gel right up against the face of the LED may or may not be advisable. Barn doors. If you don't have the barn doors yet, consider them. They're pretty sweet. All right, here we go. So we got the light, we got the ballast. We have our new 15-foot cable. Go ahead and plug it into the output. Plug this guy into the light. Okay, I'm gonna point it right at you, so if it works, we can sing happy songs together. Oh, it is working, but it appears to be may have a slight flicker to it. That's weird. As I change the brightness on the ballast, whatever flicker I thought I saw went away. Oh, got it back at around 87. Now it's gone again. At 100, there's no flicker. Just testing the cable to see if it feels warm or not. Interesting. There's a little bit of a high frequency flicker at like 86%, and then it's gone at 79. 80, 81, it's there. 82, it's there. And it's gone at 94%. Very strange. I'll bring it down, and there's no flicker below that point. Okay. So I can notice right now that the cable is warm. So I'm gonna call this a non-success because I would want to see this cable not warm at all. And the flicker has me a little interested in seeing what happens. I'm gonna put the stock cable back in and see if I see something similar. So that's disappointing, I'm not gonna lie, but we did it live. Life is about trying to find out things. Don't always be super safe. All right, so 46%. So I don't see the flicker in those ranges, so it's definitely just that cable. That is disappointing. Well, guys, we tried it. I don't know if it's because of, I'd have to guess that maybe the wire gauge is thicker. So I might reattempt with a heavier wire gauge. Like I said, that's 24 gauge wire. I might try with 16 is probably, I'm trying to think of what I could fit inside one of those DMX connectors. 16 would be like probably like right there on the fringe. But I mean, I can tell that the diameter of these is fairly different. I don't know if, let's see if we can see it over there. Hold it against my white arm, be easier to tell. So for today, we won't call this a win, but that doesn't mean we won't come back and try again. So thanks for joining. I think this was an interesting experiment. Disappointed it didn't get the results that I wanted. The light did turn on, but like I said, I could feel the cable get warm. I don't want to feel that. And it had a weird kind of flicker, and that makes me I don't want to see that either. So thanks for joining. I look forward to whatever you guys say in the comments. You guys might have already done this successfully and said, hey, you dope, use 18 wire gauge. And I'll be like, thanks. Or you might be like, hey, here's that cable for $15. Yeah, right. And I'll be very appreciative. But for now, I guess I'll just boom I don't want to boom the 300D. It's bigger, heavier, and I want to use it as a key light. I want to boom the 120D, but I want to boom it farther than 6 feet. So we'll see. All right, thanks for joining. Jared out.